Hello everyone, and thank you once again for tuning in to Solo Board Gaming presents Gettysburg Solitaire. I've eagerly been awaiting this one, the fourth book in the original book game series by Grant Wiley, Mike Wiley and Sean Cook, and from Worthington Publishing. Now, it's the fourth one because, just in case you are not aware, we've had Bismarck Solitaire, Waterloo Solitaire, and very recently, a couple of weeks ago, Braveheart Solitaire. So we now have a fantastic collection of battles. Now, reviews of all of these books can be found on my channel here. So if you've not already done so, go take a look. You're almost sure to find one that you prefer. But meanwhile, back to Gettysburg Solitaire. And from the off, I have to say, when I first imagined Gettysburg Solitaire, I thought it would be more of the same, which might not be a bad thing, but I wasn't expecting to get too excited by it. However, a few changes have been rung, and yet again, this team have managed to ring the changes a little, up the ante, add some Gettysburg thematic tactical changes to the game, and it made my first game really exciting. We'll take a look inside. Meanwhile, just like the others, it's an original book game, so literally all you need is a six-sided dice and a soft pencil. I use a 5B because it's incredibly easy to erase if that's what I wanted to do in the future. But meanwhile, it's in a similar format and they are really well bound. All of these books have been really well bound. They are meant to be pushed nice and flat so that you can play them on a table. But the reason you always see my little dice tray here is because I play them on my lap. I play them in the lounge, sitting on the couch with the book on my lap, dice tray at the side of me, and I roll and write basically and have a battle without having to divorce myself from the rest of the family. So portable, so easy. And that's exactly what I did yesterday, playing the first battle. Anyway, we have a table of contents, set of rules. We're going to see examples of play, and then the book is divided into two, starting with Gettysburg Day 1 battles, July 1st, 1863. And you can fight that battle 12 times in this book, and you get 12 chances to fight Gettysburg Day 2, July the 2nd, 1963. A total of 24 times you can fight these two battles, and you can record your wins and your losses in the battle results at the back of the book. So let's take a peek. Now it's going to follow a similar format in that you're going to get a couple of pages of really well explained game summary, the game board showing the bot side of the page, and your own player side of the page. Now, both of these battles, Day 1 and Day 2, you'll be playing the Confederates against the Union. The Union is always going to be the AI bot, and meantime, you're going to be taking all the decisions for the Confederate forces. Nice introduction here. Gettysburg, the most famous battle of the American Civil War. I only have a fairly vague knowledge of it, its place in history, its decisiveness and things like that. I don't know all of the intimate details, but I know many of you will know every single move of those armies across the 3 days. But you are the Confederate Army of Northern Virginia at its peak at this time, having recently defeated the Union Army of the Potomac just 2 months earlier at Chancellorsville. And here you are, arrived at the field of Gettysburg. Okay, so some good explanations there. Goes on to explain your formations and units and the symbols which will be familiar to everyone, that you'll find on the battle maps. We then go on, there's a couple of, I've noticed actually that in this particular book game, the explanation of the rules went on just a little longer. They provided a little more detail, a little more clarification. It ends with a detailed example of play. But one of the first things I noticed was this. Look at this. Victory conditions. They've changed them up a little bit. Victory conditions for Battle 1, Day 1, July the 1st, 1863. You can get a Confederate tactical victory, and you have to rout 4 Union formations by the end of turn 20. That's the historic outcome. They've added a level. And this is a refreshing change. You can get a Confederate strategic victory by routing Van Steinware's formation, Cemetery Hill, by the end of turn 20. So there's 2 different victory levels there. You can get strategic and tactical. That's new. The Union victory, of course, is merely to avoid being defeated by the end of turn 20, or to rout 3 Confederate formations. If the Union bot does that, then the game would end immediately anyway. So, changed it up. That made a change. I know when I was playing game 1, day 1 battle, I was going for both. I thought, I'm never going to rout 4 Union formations by the end of turn 20. I was trying to, and I nearly did it. But at one point I had to switch instead and thought, okay, let's try strategic victory and go for Van Steinware at the top of Cemetery Hill. I got a bloody nose. That was a big mistake. Okay, and just before we move on, for the July the 2nd battle, we've got a similar thing here. Confederate victories to rout 3 of the 4 Union formations, or to rout Devil's Den, Vincent, and the Union Reserve. Union victory is at the end of any turn where 2 of the 3 Confederate formations are routed, or if the Confederates haven't won by the end of turn 20. Now, apparently, the day 1 battle is supposed to be the challenging one, and the day 2 battle, the extremely challenging one. That's going to be interesting. I've not played that one yet, but I've played the day 1 battle, the challenging one. And I lost. Literally. I mean, I was that far away from winning, but I lost. Okay, we go on to detailed example of play, which is absolutely superb. Now, look, all the way through, once again, you're getting these wonderful period photographs. Robert E. Lee there, look. And let's just have a very quick flick through to show you. There we go. There's General George Meade, John Reynolds, A.P. Hill, and so on, all the way through. And there's a couple of, there we go. There's a couple of artworks as well. General Sickles, and a photograph of the Gettysburg battlefield from the time, and so on. And that theme goes all the way through the book, obviously. But now, let's take a look at the first battle. This is the first one I did. Now, first of all, at the top of the page, you have the bot for the AI Union forces. Again, a couple of changes here. First of all, the combat chart. The hits now are divided between defender and attacker. Okay, so that's whether the Union forces are attacking or your own Confederate forces are attacking. It's hits to defender, hits to attacker. And that's much clearer than their old way of doing it, where they were saying Allied hits, French hits, Scots hits, English hits, you know, that kind of thing. So that has clarified. I liked that. So that's another slight change, as well as those multi-level victory conditions. I also found this bot much harder. This bot doesn't do a lot of attacking. It's mainly defending. Now, that's pretty much historic too, so I understand. Most of them will say, attack your opposite number, the division that's opposite a particular formation, but only if that AI formation has more units in it than the Confederate formation opposite. So you're very rarely actually attacking. Most of the time, it's saying, otherwise, apply +1 die roll modifier to any Confederate infantry action attack against, for instance, Robinson this turn. And just about everyone is adding that +1 die roll modifier if they get attacked. And look, I'll show you this in a second. Number 5, Van Steinwehr reserves. Use the random event table. So there's these 6 possible actions. So you roll a dice, and whatever the dice comes up with, you apply the particular AI action, or on some of them, use the random event table. Use the random event table, and so on. And the random event table, there are 6 more random events, and some of these are killer events. Much more thematic and powerful than in the previous books I found. Look, roller number 1, don't bring on an engagement. Cancel any and all Confederate infantry attack orders. What? What's going on there? Absolutely brilliant. I found this particular AI bot really tough and really quite canny. Now, let's get to the battle map. Here we are with the battle map. Do I need to zoom in a little bit more? Okay, I'll do that. Okay. Here's the battle map. Now, of course, just the same as before, it shows both sides as blocks. You've got the Union forces in blue, and you have the Confederate forces in what the book calls butternut. So we're butternut and blue. I did like the geography they've managed to include here, the terrain, the town of Gettysburg itself, and of course the hills and ridges. And here, of course, you've got Cemetery Hill. There's von Steinwehr there, look. You've got Barlow Knoll. I think you'll agree, a nice looking map. Now, a couple of things. The artillery, the particular artillery pieces, although there are artillery actions in the game, and we'll look at those in a second, the actual depictions are for aesthetic reasons, as are Buford cavalry. All the units you'll be moving will be the infantry, but Buford's cavalry here and here are for aesthetic purposes. Well, that's what the book said, but not quite. They do come into the game. How does that happen? Well, look. Up here, and it was only halfway through the game that this actually happened. Random events table. You roll a 3. Buford on the flanks. 1 to 3. Mark 1 hit on Heth or Pender, which are over here. 4 to 6. Mark 1 hit on Rhodes or Early, which are here. So although they're for aesthetic purposes, they do come into the game. Now, the third way that they've added a different tactic, something thematic for this particular engagement, is this. And I loved this. When I first saw it and had it explained in the rules, I thought, what? Okay, so here we have the ridge. Here we have Cemetery Hill. Now, do you remember that if you take Cemetery Hill, or rather manage to rout the von Steinwehr forces here, and by the way, they can get reinforced. Look, these 2 boxes will reinforce them. They had 1 lot of reinforcement during the game. But if you do manage to make them rout, it'll give you a strategic victory. And you think, yeah, all right, great, okay. But you then come to look at your possible actions, and you can't just go charging up and attack them. That wouldn't be historic, but it's a heck of a goal. No, The guys that can attack them are Pender back here or Heth, but they can't launch any attack on Cemetery Hill unless they've routed Rowley and Wadsworth. And if Heth or Pender want to attack Wadsworth, and notice no attacks went in, not that were successful anyway, they're attacking at a disadvantage because you have to attack at +1 modifier. These guys cannot get onto Cemetery Hill without getting through these guys first. So how else can you attack Cemetery Hill for that strategic victory? Early can do it, or maybe even Rhodes, but neither of them can do it. Rhodes can't do it unless Robinson and Schurz are out. Early can't do it unless Schurz and Barlow are out. Now, eventually, we managed to rout Barlow and Schurz. So, really, Early were the only ones that could attack von Steinwehr. And look, we suffered for it. We were nearly finished off in our constant attacks. But that's not all. You see these illustrations here, and 3 of them are filled in. Well, these are entrenchments, and you start with 6 outlined entrenchments with a blank white interior. 3 of them now are filled in, and that was because of, for instance, rolling a 5 von Steinwehr reserves for the AI bot. For each 3 that are filled in, any attack has to take a +1 modifier. So potentially, if all 6 are filled in, you've got a +2 modifier. And you have to get through, as I said, these guys and these guys before you can launch those attacks. And they might be reinforced. That's how far I got. I nearly did it, look. They were getting a +1 modifier. They had 1 unit left, but I couldn't quite do it in the 20 turns that the game gives us. So that was the third way, I thought, the way the designers have thematically turned this up a notch. So it's not the same. You're not playing the same game as you did, for instance, in Braveheart or Waterloo. There are thematic differences, and it makes a big difference. There are coordinated attacks, only 3 available, of course, and that's when you can choose. One has to be an infantry attack, but it can combine with another infantry unit or with an artillery bombardment, and you get a -1 modifier on that, because when you're attacking, you want a lower dice roll. When you're defending, you want to be adding to the dice roll. And once again, the mechanic is exactly the same. You have only a certain number of activations for each of your divisions, and each time you activate it, you put the turn number in, and that's so you remember that you can't use the same division with the same action or another action the following turn. It has to wait. Somebody else has to have a go. And then finally, you get your commander, your leader unit, and this is Lee, and we get push on. And I used that once. Where was it? Here. I needed Early to have another attack up here because I thought, I've nearly won. And on game turn 17, despite the fact that he'd used all his actions, I used Lee's last action here to get Early to push on and try another attack. That was a great game. And once again, a lovely thematic way of doing it. The thing I like about these solo books, and makes them so challenging, of course, just in case you have not played one of these books before, is that you have to choose your action first each game turn. So you choose your action, you write the turn number in the activation box, and you have to stick to it. Only after that do you then roll for an action from the AI bot, from the Union. And the AI bot then carries out that action. And you can't change your action now. You are committed. No matter what the AI bot does, you're committed. And you then have to complete your action. Let's have a quick look at day 2. We have the AI bot section like so, which works in exactly the same way. The AI has artillery, it has arriving reserves. Let's have a look at that. And a completely different version of the battlefield. But again, those really nice geographical features that most people know and love. This is the direction from Culp's Hill here, Cemetery Ridge again. And of course, Little Round Top. And in this particular game, another very significant map item is Devil's Den. And you see there's one unit representing Devil's Den there. And they're calling that, for the book anyway, the Devil's Den unit, because it is one of your targets. And again, you're playing the Confederate side, and victory for the Union, for the AI bot, is by defeating, routing any 2 of your brigades here on the map. And that's Anderson, McLaws, and of course Hood. If 2 of them get routed, the game ends with a Union victory. Or the Union will win again by preventing a Confederate victory by the end of game turn 20. But do you remember how we described the Confederate Union conditions? Well, as the player, as the Confederate, you need to defeat 3 of the 4 main brigades. You've got Gibbon, Humphreys, Birney, and Vincent. 3 out of those 4 have to be routed. Or you can do it by, and I tell you what, the AI is going to stop you doing this as much as it possibly can. You can also defeat the Union and win the game by routing the reserve, whatever's left of it, Vincent, these are more specific, aren't they, and taking Devil's Den. Okay, so you rout 3 of the 4 main brigades for a victory, or you rout the reserve, Vincent, and take Devil's Den. What a game. And again, you've got the coordinated attacks. And again, a 4th thematic change to turn the screw. This one is supposed to be very, very difficult. Okay, you've got actions for Hood, McLaws, Anderson, Hood's artillery, McLaws artillery, and you've got Longstreet, who's able to order a push on or a rebel yell attack, but they've only got 3 activations. But you've also got Johnson, Culp's Hill, attack the Union reserve. This action may be played 2 consecutive turns. No modifiers are applied and may not be activated by Longstreet. So that's how many times you can have a go. So Johnson, who is not on the board, which is why it's got in brackets here Culp's Hill, okay, is the only unit that can attack the reserve. So remember that second victory condition? Rout the reserve, Vincent, and Devil's Den? Well, only Johnson can attack the reserve, and no modifiers can be applied. He can't get any help from Longstreet. There's only one other chance, and that is the reserve could also be attacked by Anderson, okay, but only if Gibbon and Humphreys are already defeated. Man, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. That is going to be a toughie. Not played it yet, but looking forward to it. And then finally, at the back of the book, again, you have your tables so you can record your results, win or loss, and what turn, and so on, and try to beat myself. Okay? Which I will do. I think the next thing I'm going to do, and I think I'm doing that this afternoon, is the July the 2nd battle. I really want to try taking Devil's Den. It just sounds an exciting thing to do. But personally, I'm embittered because even on day one, as I said, the day one battle, I was defeated. I need to try that again, and I'm going to try another strategy to take Cemetery Hill. Well, I hope you've enjoyed that. I certainly did, and I really enjoyed playing it. And of course, also you can find the other reviews for the other books on the channel if you haven't yet done so. So thanks again for watching. Really enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. It means such a lot. And look, have a great weekend. See you again soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.